We're twins, but opposite at the same time.
Yes.
If you haven't got a clue, Tony's got the answer for you.
How are you today?
Doing well, yourself?
I'm good.
Supposed to be in the 70s today. Finally, this sweatshirt may come off.
I just got this one.
It's a nice
the new sweatshirt.
First time we had white ones.
Yeah, I really like white.
Yeah, it looks good.
I'm probably gonna have to take this off today, and it's my first day wearing it.
There you go.
So we're gonna try to keep it on.
There you go.
2 questions for you today. Are you ready for the first one?
I'm ready.
Should I wait to pick my backsplash?
Yes, I always, whenever I go out and I do an estimate or if I'm helping somebody here, I always say that I suggest once you get installed, live it for a little bit, at least a week. Then bring samples home and go, you know what, I'm looking at my countertop. It looks a little bit like it needs something. It needs some color, it needs some punch. Then you bring that in, you bring those colors in with your backsplash. Or if you pick something with a lot of movement and variation, you go, wow, there's a lot going on. Simple backsplash.
Yeah.
So many times people come in and they've already picked the backsplash and they pick, these mosaics with glass and metal and stone, and it's got 10,000 things going on in it. And then they pick a busy granite.
Yeah.
When you put the two together, you don't know what to look at first. So you want one to complement the other, not compete with the other. So countertops first, put them in, live with it for a little bit, see whether it needs to add some color, some punch, or you know what, there's so much going on, nice subtle backsplash. Unless you do which become very popular now, where you do the full backsplash.
Yeah.
Then you should decide that right at the beginning. This way, if you do that, we can then figure it out that we can have the veining all line up and go right up the full backsplash.
Yeah, and that's a really good point to make too. I just worked with somebody this past Saturday that we were open, and they asked me, they were like, should I be picking out my backsplash before I pick out my stone? And I was like, no, don't do that.
No.
It's so much easier when you pick out your stone. I mean, there's going to be more stone than there is going to be backsplash.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you want to pick out what you like in the stone first, and then make whatever backsplash match that. It's a lot harder the opposite way, unless you already know this is the exact look that I want to go for.
I always say that you can pick out, if you say you go dark, but you want the backsplash to be lighter, you could pick out the lightest color or one of the lightest colors in the stone and use that as your backsplash color.
Yeah.
It becomes so much simpler that way.
Yeah, I agree. Second question of the day.
Okay.
What are the most popular natural stone choices for an outdoor kitchen?
Outdoor kitchen, I would always recommend a tight grain granite, like a steel gray, black pearl, something like that doesn't have a lot of mica in it. Now, if this was, south, in Florida or something, where we don't get that freeze and thaw, then you could probably use a lot more stone with variation. But here, because we have cold weather and it thaws, what happens is you get water goes into those joints or into those veins, they expand, and then you start popping the surface. Yeah. So those tight grain granites, you don't have that issue. So especially like in a leather finish. So I always say get a tight grain stone. Mostly, I always prefer a leather finish, but you can do any finish. But it's got to be a tight grain granite. That's going to be least amount of maintenance, absolutely going to wear well. It's the way to go. Quartz will fade. So if you do quartz outside, it will fade because the color is artificial. Yes. So it's dyed. So the quartz will fade. Most quartz companies don't recommend it outside. Now, if you do, say, an outdoor kitchen with a pavilion or something, and it's covered, you can do anything.
Yeah.
But I would still cover it in the wintertime because, when it's cold out, the snow drifts or something, you're still going to get moisture in there. And if you get moisture on the surface and it gets into the surface, and you're going to deal with that freeze and thaw.
Yeah. So
it's always a good idea to cover it in the wintertime, no matter what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like you cover the grill.
Yeah, I mean, it's an investment. You want to take care of it. You want it to look good as long as you have it. So
right.
Why not do whatever it takes to make sure it lasts? It looks good. People say, at the end of, when they cover it for winter and in the spring they uncover it, and it looks a little dull. Well, it's had, all this dirt and grime and stuff on it. Simple, just take ultra fine steel wool, denatured alcohol, go over the whole surface, it'll come right back like the day we put it
Those are all the questions I have for you today.
in. Easy.
Do you want a bonus question?
Sure.
Okay. This is one that I've been waiting for a
Okay.
long time, so I'm going to
Okay.
ask you this one. How do you build stone staircases?
Okay. It always depends on the type of staircase. If it's an open staircase, then you can't build it on something, on top of something. They have to kind of be floating and interlocking. Most of the staircases we do are already wood.
Okay.
So it's just a matter of cladding the wood with the stone.
Oh, I see.
So a lot of times we'll use either like metal lath or something like that. That we use the thin set. We always use thin set because you can't use a mastic because the mastic will have a little bit of like a rubber kind of thing, and you can't have any flex in it. So generally what we do is we cover it with either Wonder Board, which is cement board.
Okay.
We cover the wood with cement board, or we cover it with wire mesh. Then we use the concrete or thin set over the top of that, thin set on the stone, put it on. Once it's hard, it's cement basically. So
Okay.
now it's not going to move. And now you got full coverage underneath, full support underneath, and you're basically just cladding, the treads and the risers until they're all covered with stone or quartz or whatever.
Okay.
But that's how you do it.
That makes sense. That's
Yeah.
how I thought
Yeah.
it was done.
Yeah.
I saw this video the one time
Mhm.
of somebody who put the pieces together before it was on the steps. So
Mhm.
it just was like this. And I was like, what is going on? I didn't know. So I was like,
Yeah.
let me ask just to make sure.
And
see how
that
the
would be a
steps
floating
look.
one. A floating one is you would kind of put everything together and then
Oh.
put it there.
That makes
You
sense.
know, yeah.
Okay, that's probably what they were doing.
Mhm.
Well, thank you for answering my question
My
and
pleasure.
for answering the questions of the day.
Anytime.
Thank you guys for tuning into this week's episode. If you have any questions that you want answered or featured in an episode, please leave it in the comments below, or you can also contact us through direct message. We will be back next week with another episode. Make sure if you enjoyed this one to give it a like, comment, or share if you can. Thank you guys again, and we hope you have a wonderful rest of your Tuesday. See you later.
9,000.
Okay, well, I don't know this.
I can see far. I can't see close. So. Whatever. Nice.